The camera pans over a sleek, glass-walled boardroom where tension hums in the air like static. Spreadsheets, timber samples, and blueprints litter the polished mahogany table. James, dressed in a crisp navy suit, leans forward, his fingers steepled as he speaks with the calm authority of a man used to being obeyed. "We can't afford another scandal," he says, eyes fixed on a trembling supplier seated across from him. "The last shipment with forged documents almost cost us everything. This time, we implement double verification, no exceptions." His voice is cool, but underneath it is fire. His company has built its reputation over years of clean, ethical sourcing, and James has no intention of letting anyone drag that name through the mud. A contract is passed down the table, red ink marking revised clauses. Someone tries to protest, citing delays, extra inspections, higher costs, but James cuts them off with a single glance. Integrity is more expensive, but it pays longer dividends. The camera cuts to a quiet hospital room, where Tu Diep lies curled under a thin blanket. A soft beep from the heart monitor pulses in the background, steady but fragile. She turns her head slowly, wincing as the 4 in her arm tugs against her movement. A nurse checks her chart and gives a gentle smile. "Good news, Ms. Diep, your condition has improved. You're now at 90%. Another week and we can talk about discharge." Diep smiles, faint but real. Her eyes drift to her phone screen, where a photo of her and James at a streetside cafe lights up her lock screen. She touches the image gently, as if trying to bridge the distance. Back in the office, James stares out the window, the skyline stretched before him like a kingdom he controls, but he looks tired. Worn. His assistant knocks, ushering in a young volunteer wearing a faded charity vest and mud-stained shoes. "Mr. James," the young man says hesitantly, pulling out photos from a wrinkled envelope. "We need help. A remote village, kids are starving. Some are eating tree bark just to feel full." James studies the images. Hollow faces. Bare feet. Eyes that look far older than the children's bodies. His jaw tightens. He glances at his board, who shift uncomfortably in their seats. "Sir," one executive mutters. "The board has concerns. We're stretched. The timber deal needs funding. We suggest waiting on any donations." James slams the folder shut. 200 bags of rice, he says. Cooking oil. Spices. I'll cover the shortfall myself." The room falls silent. His assistant looks stunned. The volunteer looks like he might cry. James doesn't explain himself. He doesn't need to. His values speak for him. Later that evening, James visits Diep, arriving just as a nurse finishes her rounds. He brings her a carton of strawberry milk, her favorite since the day they met. She smiles weakly. "Still remember, huh?" He sits by her bedside, finally allowing himself to exhale. 2 lives, 2 battles, hers with her body, his with the world, but here, in this quiet hospital room, they find something solid. A shared center. And as he watches her sip from the carton, James knows, some victories don't happen in boardrooms. They happen here, with a hand held, a sacrifice made, and a promise silently kept. The hospital may be sterile and cold, but within its whitewashed walls, Diep finds unexpected warmth. In the ward where time stretches slowly between 4 drips and nurse check-ins, she begins to bond with the other patients. An elderly auntie, always chewing guava slices and gossiping about hospital staff. A young woman with a fractured leg who shares her favorite dramas. A little boy down the hall who waves every time she passes by in her wheelchair. Together, they create a kind of makeshift family, one built not on blood, but on shared pain, borrowed smiles, and quiet understanding. Diep laughs more now, even if the sound still comes with a cough. Her cheeks regain a little color. She folds paper cranes with the auntie, swaps snacks with the girl next door, and listens patiently to the boys' wild superhero stories. Though her body is still weak, her spirit is slowly waking up again. Then one afternoon, James appears at her door. He looks tired, suit jacket in one hand, sleeves rolled up, hair slightly out of place from a long day. But in his other hand, he holds something familiar, a pink carton of strawberry milk. Diep's eyes widen, and the smallest smile curves her lips. "You remembered," she whispers, reaching for it. "Of course I did," James says softly, his eyes never leaving her face. He watches her take a sip, the straw trembling slightly between her fingers. For a moment, the hospital disappears. It's just the two of them, two souls orbiting each other in a world that keeps throwing them curveballs. But James doesn't come just to deliver milk this time. He stands, clears his throat, and then does something that takes everyone by surprise, even himself. He kneels. Not gracefully. His knee hits the edge of the bedside tray, knocking a small medicine cup to the floor. It clatters loudly, and the auntie in the next bed stops mid-bite. Even the nurses passing by peek in with wide eyes. And then he pulls out a small, velvet box. "Diep," he says, his voice low, a little shaky. "I know this isn't the perfect time or place. But if this past month has shown me anything, it's that time is a luxury. And I don't want to waste any of it without you by my side. Will you marry me?" For a breathless moment, the world stands still. Diep's hand flies to her mouth. Tears spring to her eyes, fast, hot, unstoppable. But then she shakes her head. I can't," she says, the words barely above a whisper. "Not like this." James' smile falters. The light in his eyes dims, but he stays kneeling, listening. "Look at me," Diep chokes out. "I'm still recovering. I have no degree. No job. No health. What kind of wife would I be? What could I give you besides worry?" James sits slowly on the edge of her bed, the ring box still open between them. His voice is gentler now, more wounded. "You think I care about any of that?" he asks, brushing his thumb gently over her bruised wrist. "Diep, I've built companies, made millions. But none of it ever meant anything until you. You're the only thing that ever made sense." Tears stream silently down her cheeks. She turns her face to the window, where rain taps quietly against the glass. "My first marriage failed," she says. "Because I had nothing to offer. I was just a burden. I can't do that to you too. I won't." James wants to argue. To plead. But something in her voice, her trembling, raw honesty, makes him pause. "Then let me help you get strong," he says instead. "We'll face everything together." But Diep gently closes the ring box and pushes it back into his hands. "Ask me again when I'm whole," she whispers. The room falls silent, filled only by the steady beep of the monitor beside her. The auntie turns away, pretending to sleep. Down the hall, a baby cries. And in the fading light, James stays by Diep's side, not as a fiancé, not even as a CEO, but as a man whose love is steady, even when the answer is not yet. As the rain outside the hospital tapers to a light drizzle, the rhythm of life presses on, both inside and beyond the sterile walls. Diep, wrapped in a warm blanket and propped up with pillows, clutches her phone gently. It buzzes with a familiar voice, her mother, calling from the countryside. "How are you feeling today, my daughter?" her mother asks softly, concern lining every word. Diep smiles, though her voice is weak. "Better, Ma. Almost strong enough to come home." Her mother, always practical, always loving, doesn't want to burden her, but reality can't wait. The goats are getting restless. The chickens need new feed. We've had no good rain in days. But don't worry, I'll manage. From across the room, James listens quietly. After the call ends, he kneels beside Diep's bed, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Let me take care of it," he says gently. "You focus on healing." That evening, James pulls out his tablet, not for meetings or board reports, but to coordinate with workers on the farm. He hires 2 part-timers from the nearby village to help with the animals, arranges delivery of feed, even orders new rain barrels to prepare for the dry season. Between arranging her medicines and scheduling her next CT scan, he's also making sure her chickens are fed and her mother isn't overwhelmed. The contrast between his high-rise boardroom life and the muddy fields of Deep's farm couldn't be greater. Yet, he handles it all with the same intensity, the same commitment, because it's hers. One night, after a long day balancing hospital forms and business contracts, James finds himself alone in the hospital chapel. It's a small room, no more than a few wooden pews and a simple altar, but it's quiet. Safe. Still. For once, he's not CEO James, not the polished man in tailored suits. He's just a man in love, scared out of his mind that he might lose the woman who changed everything. He folds his hands and bows his head. I don't pray often, he admits aloud. But if there's anyone listening, please. Let her get better. Let her be strong again. Take whatever you need from me, just not her. His voice cracks. For the first time in a long while, James allows himself to cry. No cameras. No shareholders. Just raw, unfiltered emotion. The kind that doesn't belong on spreadsheets. Back in Deep's room, the auntie is asleep, the lights dimmed. Deep is dozing too, her breathing shallow but steady. James returns quietly and sits by her bedside, watching the soft rise and fall of her chest. He thinks about the farm, how it requires constant care. How crops don't grow overnight. How animals fall ill. How floods come without warning. But if you love the land, you stay. You keep tending it, day after day. You invest time, heart, and labor. And maybe, that's what love is. Not grand gestures. Not public proposals. But quiet acts of devotion. Showing up. Staying when it's hard. Believing in the harvest, even when the field looks bare. He reaches out and gently holds Deep's hand. She stirs slightly, turning toward him in her sleep. Her fingers curl around his instinctively. In that moment, James realizes something. Their relationship, like the farm, will need patience. Work. Faith. But it's worth it. She's worth it. And as the night deepens, James stays there, her guardian, her partner, her quiet farmer of hope, nurturing something fragile, yet fiercely alive. Morning light filters through the hospital blinds, soft and golden. James stands by the window, his phone pressed to his ear, a steaming coffee in one hand. On the screen are charts, numbers, and bold outlines of a new business venture. He's negotiating with a partner in another city, plans to open 2 new facilities that will provide over 300 jobs in rural areas, including Deep's hometown. Yes, he says, his voice steady but firm, but the hiring criteria need to favor locals. No outsourcing. We build from the ground up, with the people who need it most. His assistant on the other end hesitates, then agrees. James ends the call and lets out a breath. His face betrays his fatigue, but there's something more, determination, rooted deeper than corporate ambition. He's no longer just building companies. He's building safety nets. Not just profits, but futures. Behind him, Deep is awake, watching quietly. She's stronger now, able to sit up with only a pillow behind her back. The oxygen tube is gone. Her skin has more color. But she's still fragile, like the early buds of spring, not yet ready for wind. You're up early, she says softly. James turns, startled from his thoughts. A smile breaks through. Couldn't sleep. Too much on my mind. He brings her a warm towel and helps her clean her face, the simple act filled with quiet care. We're expanding into Da Nang, he says, trying to keep his tone light. I want to build something real. Not just numbers on a screen. Something people can rely on. Deep smiles faintly. Because of me? His eyes meet hers. Because of you. And because I don't want anyone else to feel powerless the way I did, watching you lie here. There's a silence between them. Not awkward, just full. Both know things have changed. James has changed. And Deep, she's still healing, in more ways than one. Later that day, James visits her doctor. They discuss progress, risks, and future treatments. Deep's condition is improving, but recovery is uncertain. It might take months, or longer. Her immune system is delicate. Travel will be difficult. Stress is dangerous. James nods, taking it all in. Not with frustration, but with resolve. As dusk falls, he sits once more at Deep's bedside. The hospital is quieter now. Machines hum in the background. The auntie across the room hums a lullaby to herself. James opens the velvet ring box again, not to propose, but just to look. The diamond catches the last light of day. You know, he says, more to himself than to her, I always thought love was about having the perfect moment. The big gesture. But now I think, maybe love is just staying. Through the slow days. The quiet days. The uncertain ones. Deep turns her face toward him. Her voice is barely above a whisper. I want to say yes. But I'm scared. He nods. So am I. But we don't have to decide today. They hold hands, fingers intertwined, resting between the beeping machines and the scent of disinfectant and jasmine tea. Outside the window, the city glows. Neon signs flicker. Life goes on. Their story doesn't end here. There are still surgeries, recovery, and maybe heartbreak. But there's also hope. In every decision James makes, in every step Deep takes towards strength, they're building something. Not perfect. Not guaranteed. But real. The screen fades slowly as Deep rests her head back, and James watches over her. The ring stays in his pocket. The proposal can wait. But the love? That's already begun.